Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to AfterBuzz TV Spotlight On. I am Tony Moore, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host,
James Lott Jr.
And, of course, as you guys know, Dishin Days always likes to bring to you past cast members from our favorite soap opera, Days of Our Lives, in celebration of its 50th anniversary. And today is no exception. We have the one and only Mr. Kyle Lowder, ex-Brady Black.
What's up, guys?
How's it going?
It's going.
That welcome is always like a mouthful.
I know, it's relevant.
I'm always like, I feel like I have like diarrhea of the mouth. I'm just like, blah, 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 catch it, and then we're gonna move on.
And here's Kyle.
Right. That's the only thing that is missing. How are you, Kyle?
I'm doing great, guys.
Thanks for coming out.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming, and it's all about you. So
Yes.
we're just gonna only chat about you.
That's it, you and no one else.
And
It's
no
Very
one else.
uncomfortable subject sometimes.
being an actor and all.
I'll see what I can do.
I'm sure you'll do fine. You have us to guide you.
Yes, we'll
Yes,
get through it.
okay.
Yes. So let's travel back to a few moons ago.
1,000 years ago. We just get at the time machine.
Right. Teleport us back to that lovely time when you made your first appearance on Days.
Oh my God.
That was your first acting role, right?
First thing ever.
Wow.
First thing ever. Yeah. My first audition, my first professional job, my first. Yeah. Everything. It was. It's the reason why Days is always going to be very special to me. I mean, I was 19 years old. I was at Syracuse University's drama department at the time, and I won't bore you with the details, but I wanted to, go west.
Yeah.
Go west, young man.
There's no such thing as boring us with
No,
details. We want all the details.
Yeah, fans want it. They want
Okay,
it.
I'll see what I can do. No, but I packed up my car and I drove cross country and I got to LA and long story short, I was so green, so inexperienced. Like I said, I didn't have a resume to speak of. I didn't even have an agent, and Days of Our Lives was just happening to look for a role that fit me physically to a T. Brady Black.
Yeah.
And I was able to finagle an audition for the show, and I think that it worked in my favor because I had no expectations. I was like, I kind of know what I'm doing, and I look like what they're looking for, so I'll just go in, and as long as I can put a sentence together, I think I might be okay.
Yeah.
And Ken Corday and the powers that were at the time gave me the opportunity of a lifetime and changed my life.
The things you do at 19, things you do when we're young, the courage.
I know,
when you're
right?
younger,
I would never do it again.
You drove cross country. I know, you drove
Well, I'll
cross
never be
country.
19 again. Right. That's true. I think, and that was the thing. I just think that the naivete, is that the word I'm looking
That's
for?
what it is.
You know what you want, and you don't think, you just think about the upside of everything,
Right.
or at least I did at the time. But when I got on the show, it's the reason why I will forever love this show is they provide, again, I was so green and just so inexperienced, and everybody in front of the camera, behind the camera, Ken Corday himself, everybody just provided such a warm, welcoming, supportive atmosphere for me.
Yeah.
That show was and still is, forever was, just a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
And they don't care if you're new. They care, but when you're new, you gotta, you can't fall behind. And the two names that come to mind are Drake Hogestyn and Deidre Hall, just because I work with them all the time.
Yeah.
When I first started,
You were mean to them.
You
had to say some really mean stuff to Marlena. I was like,
hard.
oh my God.
You should have seen some of those scenes. Like, I would, and it would end on me, and I would like say something to her and have to hold the face.
Oh,
Yeah.
And then they'd yell,
that's the
cut, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, oh my God.
Just like hug you between takes and like, so it's okay.
No, but actually, that's my point.
Yeah.
Because afterwards, I'd be like, and she'd be like, honey, you're doing great, But it was one of those things where, again, those two legendary icons,
Yes. Yes.
not just Days, but of
Period.
the entertainment world.
Yeah.
And I was shot out of a cannon when I first started there. I worked like all the time. And,
Yeah, you were on a lot, yes.
and they just, I hate to be cliche about it, but they really just took me under their wing and gave me pearls of wisdom and advice and just made me feel like I belonged and taught me everything and how to hit my mark and find my light and memorize just the ridiculous amounts of dialogue that you have to memorize.
So there's pages and pages and pages and pages.
And gave me the history of the show and the character, and it was just I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
And Days was actually quite literally my home away from home. Our shooting schedule was very different back then. We used to shoot very late at night.
Oh,
And then,
okay.
now they have a hard out.
Yeah.
but we'd shoot until we end it. It didn't matter what time. And sometimes we had to be back early the next morning. And I didn't really have a lot of friends or anybody to go home to.
Like no social life
when
or
I
anything,
first
right?
moved there. So I'd literally sleep in my dressing room. I would just like finish work and just go down to my room and just like pass out and then wake up early the next morning and do it all over again. And so again, it was all of those factors considered. It made just a huge impression on my life. And it's one of those, I've been fortunate enough to work on a lot of different things in my career over the past 15 years, but for some reason, for those reasons, I guess, Days is just really kind of, stuck, right here.
Yeah. Well, we hear that often. We've had a couple of other past cast members come on, and they always recount their first day and how certain people just took them under their wing and just kind of showed them the ropes.
I think it's a testament to Ken Corday and Corday Productions and just everybody on that show. They really do. Everybody says this about their show and entertainment, but it's like a family. It really is. It really is. People there we have so much, I had when I was there, so much fun with everybody, and the friendships and relationships that I had with people there, I still carried with me to this day. And that's a testament to the people on that show. That people, they show up and they do their job and they do it well. But there's a camaraderie there and a chemistry that goes on. It's the reason why that show has been on for 50 years and still going strong.
Was it overwhelming for you with like going into the soap genre and having, because soap fans are very dedicated fans.
God,
so was that once you start appearing and like airing on the show, was it suddenly like a little overwhelming for you? Like
very much so. I think that the fact that I was going on to such an iconic, legendary show was very intimidating to me. It wasn't like this show that nobody had heard of, and it was like you're going into this, like I said before, this well-oiled machine, this iconic machine. So I was very nervous about that, and the fact that I'd never had a job before this as an actor. So I was like, not only do I have to go to this iconic show, but I also have to deliver, or I'm out of there faster than I was hired. And then not only that, but the recognizable faces, two of them that I just mentioned, Deidre and Drake, and then so many others. I mean, I could literally list the entire cast.
Right. John Aniston. all
exactly. Lauren Koslow and Peter Eckel and Christian Alfonso. Again, Ali Sweeney. The list goes on and on. Forgive me if I'm forgetting your name. It's like all of you.
They get it.
I kind of walked in there going like, hey, I'm the new dude. Also the fact that, Brady was a character on that show. He was the little boy at the time. So I was kind of playing a character that had a history on the show. And I'm like, I'm creating the older version of this character, but I also need to know the history of him.
Did you ever get a chance to work with, I think her name is Stacey Gleason, who played Isabella?
Oh, it's my favorite storyline.
Yeah, because she came back and there's a ghost that guides you, right? Yes.
It was such a surreal experience for me because I did so much research when I started on that show, and I watched all the archives.
Okay.
Of John and Marlena and John and Isabella, and because I wanted to know about the history of this character and who his parents were and what they've been through and whatnot, and just like John and Marlena, John and Isabella were a huge item as well on that show. And I watched so many hours of tape with John and Isabella, with Drake and Stacey, and how close Brady and his mom were, even though he was a baby or whatnot, or just not how close, but the love that was there, and how she just loved her son Brady so much, and it was such a trip to me when they told a storyline where she kind of came back as a ghost to kind of guide Brady through a very difficult time. And I remember she came out on set, and I was just like, Mom! That's exactly what I was going to say. We had such a wonderful time. She really is so special, to me personally and then professionally. We worked very well together. So that was a trip and a really enjoyable experience all at the same time.
Like that. Now, you also were nominated nominated for an Emmy.
It was,
for your hard work for younger leading actor in
cool.
2003.
Yeah,
so how was it feel being nominated? Where were you when you found out, and how did it feel being nominated?
It kind of goes back into the category of what I was saying before about being shot out of a cannon. Everything was just, I don't take it for granted. I'm so grateful, for, everything just was happening so fast. I just got on this show, and I'm meeting all these people, and I'm involved in these big storylines and working with these legendary actors on the show, and then, the Emmy season comes around, and boom, and I'm nominated. I was like, okay, cool. It wasn't really like after the fact that I think the moment was I was sitting in Radio City Music Hall when they used to have it in New York,
right.
at Radio City Music Hall, and I mean, this is like the night of. Even I did interviews, of
course,
to talk about it leading up to this point and the whole thing, and I don't think it really sank in until I was sitting in Radio City Music Hall, and then that moment comes up where my category comes up, and they're like,
fast, and everything,
and then up in the big screen. In the legendary Radio City Music Hall in New York City, and I just walked the red carpet and the whole thing, but I'm sitting in my seat, and then my category comes up, and it's like Kyle Lowder, and I just remember sitting there going like, this actually is happening, and then it occurred to me that, and I mean this, I'm not kidding, I didn't plan the speech. I think I was just kind of like, I don't want to lie about it. I knew kind of what I wanted to say, but I didn't write anything.
Right.
And then it occurred to me in that moment, I'm sitting in my seat, the camera's right there, so when they call your name, they take a shot of you.
Yeah.
Right.
And then it occurred to me in that moment, I was like, if I win this thing, I'm going to get up there and I'm not going to have any idea. And I got so nervous about that. And there was this moment where when they announced the other guy, I mean this. There was kind of this moment of relief where I was like, "Okay, dude, good luck." It wasn't until like afterwards where I was kind of like, "Oh man, that would have been cool to win it." But what did they say? Just to be nominated.
Just to be nominated is more than enough.
No, but it was it was great for an amazing story that I was nominated. I mean, they always gave me great story over there.
Do you remember what story exactly? Was it real?
It was the Chloe, Nadia Bjorlin. His character was it was the whole leukemia storyline, which is another one of my favorites that I was involved in. That storyline for me probably was the most special because that story kind of transcended the genre, if you will. Days of Our Lives, we partnered with the Leukemia Lymphoma Society during that time, and we did the Light the Night Walk. And Nadia Bjorlin unfortunately had a personal connection with her. She lost her father to the disease and whatnot, and so she was kind of spearheading when we did personal appearances and public appearances for promotion to raise money for the society and also to promote the storyline that we had going on with the show. But it was during a time where we were doing such very difficult, pivotal work in the studio, and very emotionally driven and whatnot. And the writing was great, and everybody put a lot of hard work into it. But then after we'd go out into the world, which you don't really get a chance to do a lot of the time, to go out and talk to people about the storyline and cross over in that regard. So it was a really. It was a lot of hard work and a very sensitive subject, but it was a very cool time for the show and for me personally as an actor to be a part of that.
Wow.
And what was it like working with Nadia? Because every time I think of Nadia and her character Chloe, I just go back to Ghoul Girl and how they tried to make her look like she wasn't going to be this attractive girl,
can't do it.
And then suddenly
she's one of the most beautiful women on the face of the planet.
And I was like, well, duh.
Right.
She, I miss her. We had such a. Yeah, it's been a long time, but we had such an amazing time working on that show together. They really, and I'm so grateful for this, they really put a lot of time and attention into our story. And we had no idea that it was going to blow up the way it did. I guess it... dare I say, it was kind of lightning in a bottle in a way. We were very young, and just kind of showing up and doing our job and doing the best we could. But again, we had no idea that it would become so people were so crazy about it. The fans were, we were like on every week. We were on the cover of Soap Opera Digest and doing like crossover interviews with like Entertainment Weekly and like mainstream press because it was so big and what have you. And we were great friends. She was another one of those people when I came on the show that was just very kind and sweet because she had been there not very long, but at least a year or something like that. And we knew that we were going to be working together and involved in this. And the thing I loved about that story with her was the fact that they took their time with it. It's not good or bad, but the way it is now compared to them. But a lot of storylines really kind of you got a short arc. Two people are introduced and they fall in love and they do the fans like them or not. If they don't, we're going to kill it. If they do, we'll keep it going a little bit longer. Right. But back then, I think Chloe and Brady started out, I think it took a year and a half before they even kissed. Yeah. It was like 2 years before they even made love to each other. And it had the viewers and the fans, and I'm not just saying this, I know this from talking with fans and doing promotional appearances all over the country and talking to these people. People were just like salivating. And like, when is this going to happen? They had so many scenes where we were together in a room and this close and like, is it going to happen today? No.
Like you lean in and you're like, yeah.
No. I think that they had a magazine cover with a picture of me and her, and it simply just said like they finally kissed or something like that because it was such a big deal. Yeah. And then when Chloe and Brady like finally made love on the show, like it blew the roof off the show. It was great. It really, really was. But
because basically your Uncle Philip was with her.
But that's the other thing too is that Jay Johnson, who was playing Philip at the time, everything just clicked. It's one of those things where it was the peg was round going into the round hole. There's no square peg trying to this storyline's got to work. You know what I mean? It was like it just worked, and everybody just brought it, and the writing was so good, and Jay and Nadia and I really worked well together, and so we had that love triangle that really worked, and then you had what were they called, the Broies and the Flowies, for Philip and Chloe and Brady and Chloe, and it was people were sending literally bales of hay to the studio because that's where like Philip and Chloe like made love like in a stable, and then they were sending. I forgot what they sent for Brady and Chloe, for Nadia and me, but just the most bizarre things they were sending to the studio, and they were so passionate about it. Yeah. And it was nuts.
Also, you and Philip had your own relationship too, because you guys were pretty kind of close. Also, you always call him Uncle Philip because he is your uncle, but you always said that to kind of get on his nerves. It seemed like
he was. So we were blood related, but also like rivals on the show, which was really, really great. Again, everything. It was one of those things where everything just worked, and you don't realize it at the time. And again, you show up to work and you do your job and you do it to the best of your ability, and then it gets good fan reaction. You realize, wow, we got something here. I look back on that and I'm like, oh my goodness, that was really big, and it was wonderful to be a part of that. I was very grateful for that.
Now you also got to be on Friends. Because Joey was also on storylines on Friends, and you were on that too, 2003.
That was amazing. Yeah, 2003 was a good year.
Right.
Yeah, that was amazing. I played Joey because Joey Tribbiani was played by Matt LeBlanc, was Dr. Drake Ramore.
Yeah. I love that name. I love that name.
And he was on Days of Our Lives, and I played his friend on the show. He was hosting a party, and the premise of the show is that Rachel, Jennifer Aniston, and Monica. Courtney Cox were like huge Days fans, and like Joey didn't want to tell them at the party he was having a party with the Day, with like his friend Kyle Lowder like coming over to the party, and it was cool. Like the first line, walk in through the door, and my entrance, and Courtney Cox is like, "Oh my God, it's Kyle Lowder!" And I remember in rehearsal, that was like such a surreal experience because I was such a huge Friends fan. I mean, I wasn't,
right?
And I remember I was on the set at Warner Brothers, and right next to the soundstage where they shot like Casablanca, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. So I was having like an outer-body experience already. And then I walk into the Friends set, and you see like Central Perk Cafe and like their apartment, and you're like, what is the hell is going on?
Colliding
what is
days
my life?
Colliding,
it was so cool. But then I walk, and we're in rehearsal, and I walk out, and Courtney Cox is like, oh my God, it's Kyle Lowder. I was like, oh my God, it's Courtney Cox. And you're Jennifer Aniston, and you're David Schwimmer, and you're Matt LeBlanc, and you're Lisa
you can't say that, obviously. obviously.
And I was like, I can't do this. I'm going home.
That would have been a perfect gag reel take if you were able to walk in and do that.
If I was more comfortable, I probably
You're Courtney Cox.
No, it was so cool. And to do that show, I mean, they have a live studio audience. It's like theater on television. It's really, really cool. But that was amazing. I still get stopped on the street for that.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's really, really cool. And then it shows up every once in a while on TV and what have you.
Good to relive that moment.
Yeah, it was cool. It was really, really, and not to mention, I left that. I already liked Jennifer Aniston a lot. I left there, saying I want to spend the rest of my life with to this day. No, she was, I mean, they were so. I'm not just saying this. Really, it's not another actor thing. But every single one of those people were so cool, and I think it's because they started that together and all throughout the run. I mean, I came in like season 8 or something like that, or season 8 or 9. Where it had been running for almost a decade. And they were not, they were still like the kids that showed up on day one. And that was so awesome.
That's really good.
They all came. I was so nervous. I just was standing there at craft services table, just kind of, just like not wanting to just ruffle any feathers. And individually, like a couple of them in a group, but individually, every single one came up to me and introduced themselves to me. They didn't have to do that. It was just really, really cool.
It's that moment where you're like, I know who you are.
Exactly. I can't fan out right now.
She was like, hi, I'm Jen. I was like, I know.
Yeah, I'm like, hello. And I know your dad. Yeah, exactly. And I work with your dad. He's my grandfather.
Actually, thank you. We did talk about that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
That was my in to have a conversation.
Oh, yeah. With your dad.
We were standing. We were like we're on a 5-minute break, as we call it. We're on a 5. and if some people are doing their thing, I was standing at the bar set with her, like on the set, and I was like, so I'm your father's grandson on days, and so I just kind of
just do it out there just to see if she'll bite.
She did. So we ended up talking about that for a while.
Oh, okay, good.
That was great. Yeah.
Those are pretty close.
It was awesome. It was just surreal because the whole time she kept saying, like, oh, my husband Brad. I was like, yeah, I know.
Yeah. Tough.
Who's that? Who's that again? Brad who? Brad who?
Oh, Pitt. Oh, that guy. Not familiar with him.
That's the cool thing about this business is that you're a fan of you work in this business, but you're a fan of other actors and of other shows or whatnot, and then you finally get a chance to work with them and be on a show that you're a fan of, or work with people that you're a fan of, and I don't know, I personally don't take it for granted. It's I don't just say I'm an actor too, so we're all in the same boat. No, you're not. I love you guys and respect.
We feel the same way as hosts. We feel the same way as hosts. We get to meet you guys.
That was the first time that really happened to me, where I was like, I don't care where I go in this business, I'm always going to feel this way.
Yeah.
So it was cool.
Speaking of fans, we have a question from our chat roll.
Yeah.
And Jess J asks, what's your favorite or funniest behind the scenes moment from Days?
Oh, jeez.
Because I'm sure there's probably quite a few stories.
That's my brain is going nuts right now because there are so many. We had so much. There were so many pranks that were played on that. Okay, the one that comes to mind is I had been there for a little bit, but I was still kind of new.
Yeah.
So I was still very on set early. The whole thing.
Yeah.
And Drake, I don't know if anybody knows what this is, but you ever hear of when somebody pennies you into a door? That means you wedge pennies into your door to basically you can't open your door.
Oh my god!
And
never heard that before.
And Drake basically he pennied my door and locked me into my dressing room.
Yeah.
And when they called me to set, I just nonchalantly went to open it. And I'm just like. And then it's one of those things where they're like Kyle Lowder to set, and then a couple 30 seconds go by or whatever, maybe a minute, and they're like Kyle, and I'm downstairs. I don't want to scream in the microphone, but I was just like, I'm in my room. It's like I can't go. The ceilings are like, I forgot who was my neighbor, my next door, my dressing room neighbor who was next door, but like you could remove the ceiling panels, and I was like knocking out, and I was just like, hey, can you? But you can't open it from either side. You have to get like a screwdriver and a hammer. like knock him out. So I was like screaming at the top of my lungs, like I'm not.
It suddenly sounds like a real like Days of Our Lives like moment.
But I finally got out to set, and it was one of those moments because I don't know who did it, but so I didn't walk out, and I wasn't comfortable enough to be like, who did it?
Yeah.
But I remember like walking out, and everybody's just kind of got their smirk on and whatnot, and then I didn't say anything. I was just kind of, I had a problem with my dressing room door, you know. And Drake finally was just like, "You okay?" And I was like, "I knew it." We were very close at that point in time. So I was like, "Drake, you can't do this." I was trying to make an impression. So that's one of many. I mean, that is really one of many. But that happened early on, and that was kind of the first one that came to mind.
Did you ever have a interesting, crazy fan moment, like, because I know that you mentioned you guys like went out and about.
He's like, yeah.
What's that moment?
I don't know. I kind of run the gamut with those moments, but on the scale of like really cool and fun all the way up to a little scary, you know what I mean? And I don't judge. Some people just get really passionate and intense about their show and their favorite character and whatnot, and they have maybe a difficult. I'm going to be very nebulous with this answer to not ruffle any feathers. But the point is that sometimes there were a couple experiences where. People have a difficult time differentiating between the fact that I'm just, an actor on a show making a living and I play a character and I'm not this person who is mean to this other person and I'm not really trying to ruin their life. and you know what I mean? And so some you see people on the street or you'll meet somebody or you're at a personal appearance or a fan event or something like that. And somebody will have to kindly be escorted, out the door by security, But it's look, that is the worst part of things. Okay, we'll leave that there. But I've had so many. I'm so grateful, for the responses that I've gotten over the years from great storylines and playing great characters and just having great writing, to play out and. I think. Let me talk about the most life-changing experience of mine in terms of a fan situation. I do have to mention this because it just kind of popped into my head, and this is kind of. I don't mean to get all deep and dramatic about it, but it's true. It really. It was the first time. It was a very cathartic moment for me. It was the first time that I realized what we do really has an impact on people, and Make-A-Wish Foundation is a foundation, an organization that I've worked with over the years, and there was. I went into a hospital. And there was a girl in there who had a terminal illness, and it was one of those things that. The long story short is that she told me that she doesn't get to leave the bed. She doesn't get to to really do much. Yeah. But she looked forward every single day to 1 o'clock. When Days of Our Lives came on, and it happened to be a time where I was. Helping Chloe through her leukemia cancer storyline, and it just really affected her. And she just told me she really looked forward every single day. That was like her one time where she could kind of escape into this world and whatnot. And it just really, because sometimes you can just get caught up with going to work and like I said, doing your job and doing the best you can and going home and whatnot. And I don't want to say you forget about it, but sometimes it just doesn't come to the front of your mind that what you do really has an impact on people. And that was a moment that changed my life. That what we do is we can really make a difference in people's lives. So I hate to get all deep on it, but that reminded me that again, I've had wonderful fan experiences over the years. From both sides of the spectrum and all the way in between.
Great story.
I want to take you back to many years ago, where I actually met you for the second time in my home city of Columbia, South Carolina, and I actually have a picture of it. Not the best picture of me.
Oh my God!
But this was the second time I met you, and you were with Ari, who plays Nicole now, and. I remember this was like one of two stops. Like you guys went to this theater and did like a Q&A and everything.
And then we went to the mall, right?
Yeah, and did an autograph session. Yeah. Well, because I was such a fan, I would always take pictures with like the cast, and and then I would go and have the picture developed. I would put it in a frame and then hand it to them. Oh. So I did that for you and Ari back then, but I also autographed the back of it because, that was just a little... That was like the little superstar in me. I love it. But I totally remember that, and I used to be really nervous to like.
God, was I ever that young?
Yeah, you were. Was I ever that skinny?
You both look great.
I was thin then.
Good Lord, that's the problem with the internet and YouTube
and personal cameras
and Google Images. I stay away from that stuff.
And that's back when it was 35mm cameras. I had to.
I was going to say I had my picture developed.
Yeah, you just say developed. Just say developed.
What was I saying earlier that? I got a call from Fran Bascom, again, God rest her soul, was the casting director of Days when I was hired. And I was telling you earlier that when I got a call that I was going to go in and meet with her, that I didn't get a call, I got a page.
Hey, Motorola, that's right.
Remember that? You're like, bzz, you're like,
okay.
And then you had to call back and go, hi, this is Kyle. Who's this?
You're like, hey, you paged me?
Yes. You gotta find a phone first sometimes and then call back. Yes.
Oh my God.
Or how people were very creative and they used to like page you hello. Or I love you.
143.
143.
I love you. Anybody under the age of 90 is not going to remember what that meant.
Exactly.
People nowadays are like, what's a pager?
My high school girlfirend at the time, that's all we did. Because I wasn't allowed to have a pager. My parents wouldn't let me.
Really?
So, sorry, Mom and Dad.
I know.
I'm a parent now too. I get it. No, but I remember I saved up my money and I went out and I got one, and then I had the plan mailed to their house, but I was going to like check the mail every day. So
of course.
See that. Anyway, the point is, 143 to my high school. I do
remember that.
We do have another question from our fan in the chat room, Daquan. Who's a fan of ours.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
He's always tuning in to Dishin Days every Sunday at 5 p.m. right here. But he wanted to know, have you ever met Eric Martsolf, who now plays?
Yeah. Eric is a dear friend of mine. Oh. Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. I remember when he was hired to do the role. We talked about it. Eric and I are like the same person. We really are. I mean, it's just both sing and have a musical theater aspect of our lives and our careers, and I honestly couldn't think of a better guy to be doing the role. And let's be honest here, that man has taken this role and ran with it.
Yes.
Won an Emmy. I mean, hats off to you, bro. I mean, he really... Look, I played young Brady. I played him when he was, from like 19 to 26, and then Eric plays Brady the man, and he knocks it out of the park. He kills it. But Eric and I have known each other forever. I mean, I met Eric...
He's on Passions.
The first time I met him at a party... it was an NBC upfront party when they were getting ready to introduce the new shows back in 2003. Another 2003.
Yeah,
2003 was your year.
Yeah. Big year. Met Eric Martsolf in 2003. But I met him at a party. He had just been hired to play he was a recast as Ethan.
Yes, Ethan. On Passions.
And he was there at that party, and we were in groups and introduced himself as the new Ethan on Passions, so that was what 12 years ago, right? Am I math right? And we've known each other ever since. Seen each other a million times, hang out together. He taught me how to play craps.
What?
He's an amazing craps player.
He is.
Wow.
Amazing guy. I really haven't had a chance to hang out with him much. Yeah. We ran into each other recently, about a month ago, and I said, "You still same? You're like still same number? Yeah, you. Yeah." I was like, "Let's get together." But We'll figure that out. But I've known him and love him. He's great.
Wow. Yeah. Now you were on Days for 6 years. Yep. Was there a reason why you left, or did you have the choice to leave, or what was that transition?
It was there was kind of a changing. It was a changing of the situation here. Like Jim Riley had come on in the fall, I believe. Forgive me if I'm wrong about this, but my brain is trying to remember.
It's okay. In the comment section, they'll let us know.
Don't tell us. Some Days fans are like, no. Anyway, the point is, Jim came on and kind of had a Bible for the next couple of years or whatever of what he wanted to do, and his thing was my contract and Nadia's contracts were kind of up at the same time, and I had been leading up to that. Like the year before, I was kind of figuring out, okay, I've been here, what do I want to do? There was, I was 26 at the time. So I was kind of saying, I want to do some other things in my career and some other projects. And anyway, the long story short, not to talk business, at the end of the day, I remember I had a meeting with Ken, and he was kind of picking my brain about what was going on, and I was picking his, and ultimately I was like, I'm thinking about maybe, doing some other things at the end of the contract. And he's like, we'll talk to Jim, see where his, what he's written for the next couple of years or whatnot. And ultimately the decision was Brady and Chloe are going to finally culminate their big relationship into we're going to have like a wedding to end all weddings, and then you guys will ride off into the sunset. And I think that it worked out for me in terms of me wanting to. I'm trying to think of a better phrase than spread my wings.
Right, but just, something else.
I was on the show from 19 to 26, and I was ready to do something else. And I think that the show found a great, logistically with contracts coming up and storyline. I think everything just kind of made sense that we were good. That was a time for us to to kind of go.
Yeah, it's natural as an actor to want to do something else.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with being ungrateful or like I'm over this. It's just kind of you're like, okay, I've been here, I've been doing this, it's great. And again, I was 26, and I was like, what else am I capable of? In this, and that's just what it comes down to. It's a creativity thing. It's why actors in any aspect or any genre of this business get to a point where they're like, okay, what's next to kind of challenge me coming up. So it was a little bit of everything.
Was there anybody on the show you wish you could have worked with, storyline wise?
I think I worked with everybody.
I think you did too, actually, at that point. I think you did.
No, I'm thinking out loud.
Because Brady got around, but you did get around.
I worked with everybody.
It's amazing.
You know what? I didn't work with Stefano. I didn't. That's my answer, because I worked with Teo Penglis. Played Tony, which was cool. I wanted to work with Stefano, Joe Mascolo, obviously, because like John Black, my father, Brady Black's father, had such a history with Stefano, and in my research and reading about this massive history with John and Stefano, I thought it was cool. I wanted it would be cool if like the next generation, John Black's son, kind of got involved with the Phoenix, as he was called. But I kind of got that with Teo. So the storyline happened, but it wasn't with Joe. But realistically, I think that he was the only actor that I did not work with.
That's so funny.
On that show, I worked with everyone, which is Brady got around, which was really, really cool.
Yeah. Daquan wanted to know what was it like working with Allison Sweeney?
Oh, another one who's great. I mean, she was and still is, obviously, just such a pro. She was one of the people that I learned from, because she had been there for a while. When I got there. She played my sister, half sister, on the show. So we had a lot of really fun scenes. When I first got on that show, Brady was mad at the world.
Yes, you were.
So scenes that I'd have with people were very emotionally charged, and we had some scenes where we were at each other's throats, which was really, really fun, because it's one of those moments you could just go at somebody and then they yell cut, and you're just like, you okay? Good. You okay?
Great. Okay, I got
check in.
No, but she's amazing.
Yeah. And then from Days, you went over to Bold and the Beautiful.
Yes, you did.
And you were there for 5 years?
Five. It all kind of mumbles.
So 2017, it was to like 11 or 12.
Like 4 and change. Something like that. Yeah, that was, I was telling you guys earlier that was kind of a bucket list item for me, to work for Brad Bell and the Bell family, legendary TV family, and then the legendary actors on that, the originals, John McCook and Susan Flannery, Ron Moss and Catherine Kelly Lane, Hunter Tylo, even. I mean, it was. I'll spare you the details again, because we don't have all day. But I got my agent called me. He got a phone call from Brad Bell, or Brad Bell's people. What can we say?
Called their people. Called their people. Yes.
This time not via pager.
Right, exactly. On my cell phone, but it was a flip phone because it was 2006.
Flip phones are fine. That's fine. They were still cool. I used to like them.
Me too. I used to love it too.
Maybe you could flip it up with one hand. You were cool.
Like, oh yeah.
Anyway, but Brett got a call and Brad wanted to meet with me in his office, so which was really cool for me. So I went over to CBS TV City, and which is a legendary studio.
Yes.
And went up to Brad's office and met with him. And again, he wouldn't. We were saying this earlier. He wouldn't tell me who the character was. He just wanted to pick my brain about what I was doing and what I have interest in, maybe coming over to the show, and then talk to me about where the show was at, the storylines that they were telling, and who I would probably work with if I was there. And I didn't find out till after he hired me that I would be playing Rick Forster, which again was great because you're talking about Catherine Kelly Lang's son, John McCook's son, working with everybody on that show, an iconic character on that show. I was so thrilled to death, and that time on that show really kind of changed my career in many aspects. It kind of set me on a different, not a different, but a new trajectory because of the international aspect of that show.
For those of you who don't know, Bold and Beautiful is kind of sold as a nighttime soap overseas, so they have a huge international audience.
It's in the Guinness Book of World. I don't know if it still is. I don't want to get my facts wrong, but at the time when I was there, it was in the Guinness Book of World Records as the most watched daily drama in the world. It's like 100 million people in like 100 countries or something like that. So,
a whole new exposure.
But that's the thing. I was all of a sudden, I was going to the Monte Carlo TV festival, and that show probably shot on location in Sydney, Australia, and then I was in Scandinavia and France, and again Monte Carlo and Italy. It's huge in Italy.
It's huge in Italy.
So I got to see the world and travel the world and work all over the world because of that show.
Have you seen yourself dubbed in other languages?
Yes, and it's the trippiest.
We actually have a fan calling in now. Put on your headphones here. Hello, fan. You are on AfterBuzz TV Spotlight On with Mr. Kyle Lowder. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, it's Ashley calling from Toronto, Canada.
Hello, Ashley. How are you?
Hi, Ashley.
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. You are on live with Kyle. Do you have a question for him?
I do. Hi, Kyle.
Hi, honey. How are you?
Is there any scene that you wish you could have gone back and redone it? Or a scene that you really was one of your least favorite scenes to do on tape?
God, that's a great question.
Yeah.
You know what comes to mind, actually? My gut reaction to this is maybe not necessarily a scene, but just kind of the way I played Rick on The Bold and the Beautiful. When you're playing a character who's not necessarily evil, but just maybe kind of stirring up a lot of trouble on a show, you walk a very fine line between you don't want people to hate you to the point where they can't stand watching you, but you want them to love to hate you. Yeah, and I think that there were some times in playing that character that. Not all the time, but in my humble opinion, personal opinion, I think that there were some times where I crossed that line to where he became just a little unredeemable in some parts, and people were, kind of like, can he ever come back from this sort of thing? So, and he did, and I was able to kind of salvage it, but there were some times where I would watch an air show and go like, oh no, oh god, and some of the, but there was definitely that comes to mind. But I think that happens a lot when in this business. You have an interpretation of what you want to do in a scene and with a character, and it just seems very right at the time. And sometimes you're in the heat of the moment shooting a scene or whatnot, and something just comes out of you. You feel something in the moment, and then you watch the air show like a month later or whatever, and you sit on the couch and you're like, you're like, oh no, that's not what I wanted to do, and you feel like calling your boss and being like, sorry. I'll make this up to you somehow. Or they call you. Yeah. And they're like, Kyle. And I'm just like, I know. I need to do over. We're going to do it again. So, but that was a great question. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Ashley, for always calling in and supporting us. And hopefully you will be tuning in this Sunday at 5 p.m. for our full recap of Days of Our Lives.
That's right.
You there?
Ashley?
She's not.
Okay. Well, she's gone. All right. So, thank you again, Ashley. But the other great thing about Bold and the Beautiful was that they wrote in your singing ability, and you were able to sing on the show as well, right?
That's kind of that's what I was talking about in terms of giving me new opportunities in this business, because I had an opportunity to sing on that show a lot, actually, which was great. When I first started, and at the end, it was in the last year of my contract, because in Italy, it's the show's delayed a couple of years or whatnot. But in my last year on that show, I was contacted by an Italian composer who had a whole library of original music that he had written, and he was like looking for a singer to sing his music. So I was contacted by him, and he said, I have this music, I would love to do an album, and I'd love you to sing my music. And I got in touch with him through our mutual representatives, and I said, look, send me your demo. I'd love to listen to it. And it was great. I loved his music. It's beautiful. It kind of right up my alley in that regard. It was kind of like classical crossover type thing. But the long and the short of it is I recorded the album in Florence, and we released it on iTunes, and it shot to the top of the charts internationally.
Yes, it did.
Which was amazing.
It did. 2011. Yes, it did.
Which was unbelievable. To be big in Europe was a cool thing, I guess, to say. But no, it was awesome. And I subsequently did some promotion for it, in Milan and Rome, and some performances in Tuscany. It was amazing, and I got to perform on the Italy's version of American Idol, which was the videos on my website right now. But anyway, it was The Bold and the Beautiful really opened the floodgates for that sort of thing, and it got me during that process. So I finished on B&B, and then that's when I went and had the time to travel and record the album, and then promote it and everything. And it was during that time where I said, I really miss singing. It's something that I've done since I was, my entire life, actually. Realistically, I started classically training when I was 13 or 14.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I talked to my reps, and I said, look, I'd love to incorporate, music and singing a little bit more into the career. And that's when I, Rock of Ages came.
Yes.
And I actually auditioned for the Broadway company in New York. I flew to New York and read for the creative team over there, the director and producers, and again, it's relevant, but instead of, this is what I love about the show, is they're so loyal to their actors, and so I was auditioning for the role of Stacey Jacks, it's the Tom Cruise role from the movie, and so, but the guy who was understudying that role for a long time, they wanted to promote him to the lead role on Broadway, which I applaud. In this business, they put in their time and their work. By all means, do that. They deserve it. Yeah. But everything happens for a reason, because they said, well, look, we're opening the show in Las Vegas, and we'd love you to do it there. And it's closer to L.A. I didn't have to be across the country from, my daughter and my life in L.A. and whatnot. And that year in Las Vegas doing that show ended up being arguably one of the best years of my life, personally and professionally. The people that I met there changed my life in so many different ways, and it was doing that musical, which is just a rock show, basically. In that venue, singing 80s rock anthems.
Yes, I do. I love it.
Which is my thing. Getting to sing "Wanted Dead or Alive" by Bon Jovi, which is
your group
again in front of thousands of people in a venue like that, in an amphitheater in Las Vegas, in a resort like the Venetian Palazzo. Every single night was just the biggest rush. It really was the closest I'll ever come to being a rock star. It was the best thing ever. It really, really was. And just getting to know that city, a city that I had visited many times since I moved to LA, because it's so close. But always just was a tourist and kind of just hung out on the Strip. But that city has so much to offer.
It does, actually.
Really?
It does.
Oh my God!
I thought it was just my
girlfriend and I would go hiking in Red Rock Canyon.
There's schools. There's grocery store. People really don't know that. It's a whole there's things there. I was talking about people actually live there who don't even work on the Strip. They don't work in.
And when they find out you're a local, you are red carpet treatment. You go because it's such a tourist city. But that the city is amazing. I miss it. I really, really do. Every time it changed my life, because I go back to that city now to see my friends who some of them are still in the show and what have you. And I met so many people there that that are still there that I enjoy going back and seeing them. But the point is it used to be like, go to Vegas, let's tie one on.
Party.
Now it's like I fly into that city and I'm like, oh, like I'm home.
I'm home. Exactly right.
So amazing year. Really missed that show and the people that I was involved with in that show.
Now, if you could put yourself in a Broadway show, which show would you want to do?
Oh God,
because I have my list.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a list. I mean, Phantom Family Opera, Jean Valjean. And
I can see you doing family opera.
Yeah.
I'm a little young right now for these. I'm kind of getting up there.
Makeup. They can always do makeup or whatever.
The guy that's my favorite guy who's ever played the Phantom and Jean Valjean in Les Mis, as a guy by the name of Ramin Karimloo, who's doing.
He's great. Actor.
He's
great singer. Great singer
in every way. He's a musical theater guy.
I've seen him several times. Yeah.
He's my age. He's a little bit older than me. So I'm again.
Yeah.
It was always that thing where I was like, one day I'll be old enough to play this role. Now it's like I'm
getting there.
Wow,
it's like,
I better start auditioning. No, those are two bucket list roles for me. But there's another role, a musical that not many people know of. Maybe they do. It didn't last very long on Broadway, unfortunately. It was The Bridges of Madison County.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
That soundtrack is unreal.
Okay.
I would love to just sing that music on stage every single night. The problem is the guy that originated the role, his name is Stephen Pasquale, famous actor, actually, in television as well. The problem is he sang that role so well.
It's done. That's it, done.
I'll stick to just singing that role in my show. Because people would see me hypothetically do it on stage and then buy the soundtrack and then go home and listen to it and be like, oh, this is so much better. So I'll probably just play that role in my dreams. But those two roles are probably.
And you're also working on something. Can you mention a little bit about that?
I am. I do want to talk about this.
Speaking of musical,
Ken Corday, the Days of Our Lives president, CEO, and executive producer, a dear friend of mine. Is developing a musical, actually. And Ken, I will not talk too much about this, okay? Don't worry, I'm not going to spill the beans. No. But just to kind of throw it out there, he approached me a couple months ago now. And I kind of fell out of touch with him a little bit because, again, I've been in Vegas and in New York for a little bit. So, but I'd come back to LA and he contacted me and it was great to catch up with him because he and I've always been very grateful for our relationship, both professionally and personally. Like I was saying before, we have a lot of some things in common, like golf and music and things. And people don't know Ken is a jack of all trades. He's an unbelievable musician and songwriter. He just wrote a novel. His second one, I think, in addition to being an executive producer for television. Anyway, I went to his office and we sat down and was like, I want to talk to you about, I'm developing something and I want you to be involved with it. And again, I will not talk too many details because I don't know if he wants me to talk about it
too much.
Yes.
Just a little teaser.
Let's just say that he's written a lot of the music for it. It's in development right now, but we got to go into Capitol Records and Studio A, which is the legendary Capitol Records studio with Judy Garland and Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, the Rat Pack, and Nat King Cole. I mean, the list goes on.
Yeah, it goes on.
Those are just the classics. I mean, people still.
Right.
But we got to go in there for 2 full days with a full band. Wow. And we had lead guitar, rhythm guitar, percussion, drums, steel guitar, horn section, bass, backup singers, the whole thing. And recorded 18 songs in 2 days, which was like singing in a blender. It was just nuts. Yeah. But we recorded a concept album with this music, and but again, it's in development right now. But just to work with Ken on the music side of things now, after working with him, on the television side of things. First of all, it was an honor and a privilege to spend that much time with him and work with him on that stuff. But it was just really cool to get to see that kind of side of him. The musician and the songwriter, and he's very gifted in that regard. And so stay tuned for that. It's in development, but we just recorded it last week. So
very
it's
exciting.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have the full support of us and all of the Days of Our Lives.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I will keep you posted.
So it's like
on
it's like a league of people. Yeah, let us know so that way we can
Again,
always.
these things, it's like everything in this business. It's
takes some time.
It's in development. It's in the process.
But we will promote whatever.
Exactly. Speaking.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say we ran some B-roll in the studio when we were recording, so that I'll put out on social media and whatnot. So you'll kind of see.
Good.
Well, speaking of working so closely with Ken and him developing things, you may want to pass on this idea to him. There's been a running campaign here at Dishin Days called #MaxineSon. Yes. And if you're not familiar with Maxine, she's a very sassy nurse at Salem University, and she makes appearances throughout the show.
I do know that.
Every now and then. And I think, and she can vouch too, that I would be great to play her son if they ever wanted to expand her role and mine. So
why are you looking at me? You should talk to,
Oh, no, they know.
They know. They out there knows already.
They know.
So we're telling you.
Over a casual game of golf, you can let Ken know that Tony over
Just
here.
beat him over the head with
it. Well, then that turns into a whole nother story. Well, actually, if he wants to incorporate himself, then I could come in and bash him over the head, and then it's a whole thing, and he's at the hospital, and then I discover Maxine is my mom. Perfect. So just let him know there's some ideas that I could run, by him in case he's ever looking for scenes.
I'll tell you, all I can promise is that I'll do what I can do.
Well, for that, I am very appreciative.
Absolutely, my friend. Definitely.
Well, Kyle, thank you so much for joining us today.
Guys,
we're starting to run out of time.
I was going to say,
But just keep talking for a while.
I would just keep talking until you've been like, we got it.
Cut it off. Cut it off.
We'll be here all day. And I wouldn't mind, James wouldn't mind, fans wouldn't mind, but I think AfterBuzz would mind a little bit because they may have some other people who want to come in and talk to.
Guys, all joking aside, this has been a blast. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for coming in. Where can fans find you? And
I'm not a big social media guy. I have Twitter. I'm not on Facebook and I'm not on Instagram. To the dismay of my girlfriend, who's awesome on Instagram. And she's, I can't really see the pictures that she posts. You need an Instagram. I don't have an Instagram. But I'm on Twitter. It's at Kyle Lowder 22. It's because somebody took at Kyle Lowder.
Really?
To be me, so I can't get the handle. Well, but there you go. You can. I post. I try to post on Twitter as much as I can. About my daily activities, which are so exciting to people, I'm sure.
And you have your website as well.
KyleLowder.com exactly has info and photos and videos and whatever. Listen, if you ever want to get a question from me or get in contact with me, just tweet at me. Yeah. I do check. We all sit in line doing this.
Yes, of course.
I'm not gonna lie about it.
I do. I do too. Yeah, we do it.
If you mention me, their chances are I will see it, and if it's, I will do my best to get back.
Good. James, where can they find you?
On 20 after shows here on AfterBuzz. But besides that, I'm also at Black Hope LA, BLAKHOPELA on Twitter. And I'm on Facebook, James Lott Jr. And then there's also my radio show every Friday morning on AdrenalineRadio.com.
Well, all right. And you can find me on all social media platforms at Lounging with Tony or my website, loungingwithtony.com. And of course, you can find me and James, the Chocolate Twins, on Dishin Days every Sunday, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we recap the full week of your favorite NBC soap, Days of Our Lives.
That's right.
Once again, Kyle, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you this Sunday for another Dishin Days.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Oh, that's perfect.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.